40,000 years ago, if you walked far enough in any direction, you would eventually meet a human being who was not the same species as you. Shorter, or stockier, or 3 feet tall and living on an island with dragons. They are all gone now. Every single one. And they all disappeared right around the time we showed up. So here's the obvious conclusion. We killed them, except we didn't. There is almost no evidence that we did. Archaeologists have looked hard, and what they found instead is so much worse, that murder would honestly be the flattering version. Quick thing that will ruin your day. Being the only human species is weird. For almost the entire history of our genus, roughly 2 million years, the Earth had several kinds of human on it simultaneously. Multiple, at once, like different dog breeds, except they had opinions. 300,000 years ago, you could have shaken hands with at least 7 other kinds of human. Today, the number is 0. We are the last one standing, and we act like that's normal. It is not normal. It is the strangest thing about us. Let's meet the dead. Neanderthals. Europe and Western Asia. Bigger brains than us. Buried their dead. Made glue. Took care of their injured. Gone about 40,000 years ago. Denisovans. Asia. We know them almost entirely from DNA. A fingertip bone, a jaw, a few teeth, an entire branch of humanity that we discovered by reading a genome before we had a skull to look at. Imagine being so thoroughly erased that you're a rumor with a genetic signature. Homo floresiensis, the hobbits, 3 feet tall, lived on the Indonesian island of Flores. Last trace of them is about 50,000 years ago, and a study just this year suggested they weren't hunting big game or even controlling fire. They appear to have scavenged what Komodo dragons left behind. Yes, Komodo dragons. They shared the island with the lizards and they waited their turn. Homo luzonensis, the Philippines, similar era. We only named them as a species in 2019, which means for all of human history until 7 years ago. Nobody knew they existed. Homo erectus, the champion, survived roughly 2 million years, 10 times longer than us so far. Last holdouts in Java maybe 110,000 years ago. Homo naledi, South Africa, small brain, alive 250,000 years ago, right alongside the first of us. Nobody knows what happened to them. At all. Here's why everyone assumes we did it. Look at the timing. We leave Africa, we arrive in the Levant, Neanderthals vanish. We arrive in Europe, Neanderthals vanish. We reach island Southeast Asia, hobbits gone, Lusonenses gone. We show up in Asia, Denisovans stop appearing in the record. 4 continents, same pattern, every time. That is not a coincidence. In any other investigation, a suspect who is present at 7 different disappearances gets charged, and we know we're capable of it. Humans are extremely good at violence. We've been doing it enthusiastically for as long as we've had hands. So motive, opportunity, and a suspect at every scene. The only thing missing is the murder weapon. Here's the problem. If we had exterminated them, we would see it. Warfare leaves garbage. Mass graves, skulls with holes in them, burned settlements, weapons in rib cages. We have none of that. Not one confirmed massacre site anywhere in the world for any extinct human species. The single most famous candidate is a Neanderthal called Shanidar III from Iraq, who has a wound in his ribs that might be from a projectile. Might. One guy. Possibly. And even that could have been a hunting accident. Here's the genuinely unsettling part. Where we do find evidence of humans butchering humans, it's usually Neanderthals butchering Neanderthals. Cut marks on the bones. Marrow extracted. At one Belgian cave, the leftover bones reworked into tools. They were rougher with each other than we ever demonstrably were with them. We didn't fight them, and somehow they still lost. 4 things. None of them look like a crime. All of them were fatal. 1. We ate better. When researchers model the Neanderthal extinction on a computer, the Neanderthals only die out if you make Homo sapiens meaningfully better at squeezing food out of a harsh Ice Age landscape. Not stronger, not smarter, just better at logistics. We had longer trade networks, better projectile weapons, and we shared information across bigger groups. Every day for a few thousand years, we got slightly more calories out of the same valley than they did. That's it. That's the weapon. We outgroceryed them. 2. We brought germs. We came out of the tropics carrying a heavier disease load than anything living in cold northern Eurasia. One major hypothesis holds that this asymmetry alone could explain why we replaced them and not the reverse. We didn't need weapons. We were the weapon. We just had to breathe on them. 3. They were already in trouble. Small scattered populations, violent climate swings, a supervolcano near Naples that erupted about 39,000 years ago and darkened the sky over Europe. They were a species already down to their last few chips when we walked into the casino. Now, you've probably heard Neanderthals were doomed by inbreeding. Careful with that one. A study published this year looked at 27 Neanderthal genomes and found no sign that their genetics were steadily deteriorating over time. That theory is now genuinely contested. Half the internet hasn't caught up. 4, and this is the one. We had children with them. Not once, not by accident, repeatedly across thousands of years, in multiple places, between multiple species. If your ancestry is from outside Africa, you are carrying roughly 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA right now. If you're from Papua New Guinea or Melanesia, you can carry 4 to 6% Denisovan. And that DNA is doing things. The gene that lets Tibetans breathe comfortably at 15,000 feet, that came from Denisovans. We inherited altitude tolerance from a species we never even found a proper skeleton of. So here's what actually happened. Their populations were already small. We arrived in larger numbers. We took the better ground. Every generation, a few more of them had children with us instead of with each other. And a species that's already shrinking cannot survive its remaining members marrying into the group that's replacing them. They weren't exterminated. They were absorbed. There was no last stand, no final battle. There was a last Neanderthal, a real individual somewhere in Spain or Portugal about 40,000 years ago, and nobody killed them. They just got old, and there was nobody left who was like them. We didn't kill the other humans. We outcompeted them. We infected them. We outnumbered them. And then we married the survivors until there was no them left. They didn't go extinct. They got diluted, which means the last Neanderthals aren't in a museum. They're in you. So, murder or something worse? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because there are 6 more of them down there, and nobody's told their story yet.